Chances are you or someone you know is facing foreclosure, but it doesn't have to be that way. There are options. Hello, I'm Kathy Lehr, and welcome to the special edition of Focus, Facing the Mortgage Crisis. Did you know that last year in Hamilton County there were over 6,600 new foreclosure filings? That's up over 6% compared to only the year before. In the first week's listing of homes facing a sheriff's sale, over 5,000 Hamilton County homes were listed. An increasing number of people locally and throughout the country are being forced to make tough decisions. Eat or pay the mortgage. Pay for much needed medicine or pay the mortgage. There is help available for many homeowners if they act quickly. CET and 91.7 WVXU have partnered with several of Greater Cincinnati's trusted community resources and are producing a series of programs such as this one to help people remain in their homes. One of our guests today has a story that many can relate to. Rose lost her husband a few years back, who was the primary breadwinner of her family. Since her husband's death, Rose has been struggling to keep her home and pay her bills, with her only income being Social Security. Rose Brinkley will share with us today how she was able to keep her home. Also on our panel, Sister Barbara Bush, the Executive Director of Working in Neighborhoods. Each year, her organization publishes a report on foreclosures in Hamilton County. We'll take a look at the numbers and find out how her agency is helping to prevent this situation from happening to other local families. And Rick Williams, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Home Ownership Center of Greater Cincinnati. His organization, just like Working in Neighborhoods, is a HUD-certified counselor. Thank you all so much for being with us today. First of all, the big question weighing on everybody's minds: have we hit bottom with the foreclosure crisis yet, Rick?
No, unfortunately, we have not hit bottom. All of the indicators that we see say that this is just going to continue to increase as it has annually for a while. We are starting to see a change in the demographic, an increase in populations that have not been exposed or at risk of foreclosure in the past. We're starting to see the income levels for the families change dramatically from the standpoint of who we're servicing, and the economy is now driving this, as opposed to in the past it was the types of loans that the homeowners received in order to buy the homes. That is no longer the driver for the foreclosure crisis. It is now a loss of income. So it's now still tied to the economy until the economy has to really recover in a way that employment then increases, and then after that, then it has to change the housing market. And since employment is typically the tail end of an economic recovery, we can start to see, we will see this to continue for a few years.
A few years. Sister Barbara, I'm putting you out on a limb here, but when do you think the bottom?
Well, we would hope for tomorrow, but we expect that it will start to get a little better in 2011. 2011 is what I've been told on HUD is working toward, and the Realty Track seems to believe, who does almost all the national figures, that we're going to see at least 3 million in 9 and 3 million foreclosures in 10 across the country.
Are these new foreclosures, or are these?
Well, they will be new foreclosures. In terms of housing counseling, we are seeing both, and the HUD figures at this point are 60% of all modifications return. And usually that's because the lenders are only modifying for 6 months to a year, sometimes 3 years. And as Rick said, the economy is so bad that when they started doing the modifications, they thought that the person would have a new job because if it was from being unemployed. But jobs aren't there. So we're really seeing about 60% of the people return to look again at how we modify this loan so they can stay in their home.
That has got to be really difficult for these individuals, because they've already gone through this once and hoped to be on the right track, and then to have to face it a second time, I can't imagine how difficult that must be.
The advantage, if they've worked with us before, is they know where to go, they know the process works. So there is some advantage to it. And we've taken, I think, a little of the mystery away from, because this was so uncommon when it started. in 2002, when we did our first report, you know, we were 66% less numbers of foreclosures, and so, you know, as I say, in 2002, we maybe saw 10 to 30 families that were in this situation. Last year, we saw over 600. So you can just see the differential in numbers.
And what's changed a lot, I guess, is who's being impacted, right?
It's hugely different. Our studies show that in 2002 it was almost entirely in the city. In 2007 and 8, there were more in Hamilton County than in the county, the broader county. And we've seen a tremendous increase in numbers in places like Coleraine Township, Greene Township, Springfield Township. And from our own offices, from our own workers, what we're seeing right now is a lot from Westchester and Montgomery and Hyde Park, things we didn't see before. We've had a couple through from Indian Hill.
That's, you know, it's hard to imagine that's what our new society is like.
It is. But there are a couple of good things to say with all the bleak news, and that is that there's some maturity and acceptance at the levels for the lenders and the servicers. There are a lot more options and tools that we have in order to assist the homeowner than we've ever had, actually. And that continues to increase, the tools that are available, the processes that they develop to make this a more streamlined process, that make it more an effective way to assist the homeowners. And so for those who are coming back, because the time is up for their loan modification, they will find that there are a lot more options available for them in order to move to a place to secure their home ownership.
Now, Rose, you found yourself in a situation that I am betting a lot of people can identify with. You lost your husband.
Yes.
He died. He was
Yes.
the primary breadwinner of the family.
Yes.
Take us back to the situation that ended up with you facing foreclosure.
First started when he passed away, and everything started going down. The finances started going down, and I neglect paying one bill to pay another bill to hold on to the house. So when I got so far down, so I missed the payment, I decided to call home modification. So when I called home modification, they in turn helped me with my home, helped me save my home, lowered my payment so I could keep my home.
You had an adjustable rate
Yes,
mortgage?
I had an adjustable rate mortgage. I couldn't pay, the mortgage kept going up, and the tax I had to pay, the insurance I had to pay separate, and the mortgage kept going up, and that's what made it just all a mess. So it got so, I couldn't handle it, so I just missed one payment. And then when I heard about home modification, I called them. They in turn helped me lower my payment, save my home, got everything under one roof, insurance and taxes, all in with the mortgage, and fixed rate. So I'm proud of that, and I'm happy.
What do you say to people who are out there and say, you know, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do first.
First thing you do, let me tell you the first thing that I did. The first thing that I did, when I heard about them on the radio, I waited. I went into the hospital, had an operation. Then when I came out, then I called them. I did not I wasn't afraid to call someone because I needed help and I want to save my house, and I need my house. That's my castle. So, and I called them. So, in calling them, they told me everything that I need to bring with me to, you know, and I'd taken it to them. And they called me back, went in for the interview, so here I am today. I'm happy. They saved my home for me. I will still have it. It's a blessing.
I have this feeling of what Rose said. She acted quickly, but a lot of people don't. Is that what gets them into trouble?
That's true.
Actually, I will say that when Ms. Brinkley came to the Home Ownership Center for that loan modification, She had been struggling for a few years. She tried to do this alone first.
And that's usually what people do,
And
right?
that's what people typically do. And so we really need homeowners to understand that whatever you think you're doing that's unique and unusual, it's not. That we have come across many people, whatever is the situation. And one of the unique aspects of Mrs. Brinkley's situation is that in the work to change her monthly payment, we worked with her lender, but we also had to get her a different type of insurance because she had forced insurance, which is extremely expensive, and that was also contributing to her ability to hold on to that home. So we were able to work with State Farm and get her a conventional insurance, which she was eligible for all along, but did not know that.
So and I bet there's a lot of situations like that.
There
and
are quite a few.
payments that people have that maybe they could be reducing if they only had the help to figure it all out.
We were able to add, like she said, her taxes and her insurance to her loan payment, which there was a period when that became very typical, that your payment did not include those. And many of the homeowners we see today have tax delinquencies as well as mortgage delinquencies, and we have to fix them separately because they were never all combined in the same payment.
When we did the introduction, we talked about the fact that both your agencies are HUD certified. What does that mean?
What it means is that we've all been trained to do this kind of work, and that we are certified by the government to do that. So you can come. It is free. There's a lot of rescue scams out there you don't want to be involved in. So you can, if you want to call 211, which is the United Way number, or you want to call a HUD number, or get on the HUD website, you'll be able to get a certified housing counseling agency trained to do the work that you need done, and with access to the loan modification departments of most lenders in the country.
When you talk about getting help and coming in to see a counselor, what do you need to bring with you? Is there an appointment? Does it take like 6 months to get in to see somebody typically?
Well, one of the great things about the website was just created, Facing the Mortgage Crisis, is that it now has a checklist on it. And there are some items that every homeowner has to have, regardless of your lender, regardless of your servicer, and regardless of which certified counselor you talk to. And so it's now on that website, and it includes things of verification of income, a budget, a reason for the crisis, what got you in this situation, because the ability to work with you depends on why you're there. It includes the proof of ownership of the home, things like that that are needed to move forward. The loan documents that you had originally to purchase that home, all those things are critical to have in your hand as you move forward with the process.
If you don't use a computer, you call any one of our agencies. We're going to send you or give you a list of things that you need to bring, so that you'll have that when you start working with the counselor. We do talk to every one of the customers who call us. Within 48 hours of the first phone call, we have a call back. We have a system set up, and I believe Rick does too, where we do regular intakes throughout the week to help families make sure that they're moving forward throughout the process, and to educate them about what they can do themselves along the way in order to make this process go faster. Sometimes we're able to do changes in a fairly brief period of time, and sometimes it can take 6 months. And I think that was part of your question.
Yes.
How long does it take? We'd like to say it's going to happen tomorrow, and we're going to work as if it's going to happen tomorrow. But in truth, you're going to find that many of the banking institutions or servicers are so overwhelmed that it takes 2 months to even get them to look at your loan, much less to begin the modification process.
Rose, what about in your case? Was it a long process?
No.
No?
See, I waited. I went into the hospital in January, and I didn't come back home until the 1st of April. So when I came back home, that's when I called them and did everything they told me to do, took everything with me. And just from that, then they sent me a letter in the mail and asked me when to come into the office, and I did.
So it wasn't a very long process at all?
It was a long process, but I know one thing, they really worked with me, and I really worked with them. So when you work together, it goes well.
Yes, and I do want to emphasize that when we were working with Mrs. Brinkley, that time that Sister Barbara talked about, 3 months, 6 months, it begins when we have all of the information. It cannot begin until all of that occurs. So however long it takes for you to give us the documentation that we need, that's when that clock starts to tick. And Mrs. Brinkley did bring everything in very quickly. And in addition, the other point is she also worked on her own behalf with us. We cannot do it all. And there are many lenders who still shy away from sharing information with the third party. They really want to only communicate with the person who has that loan. We need to understand everything that homeowner is being told. We have to share everything that we're being told. We have to work this as a team. And so that is critical to that time period as well. It also varies with the servicer. And many of them, along with being overwhelmed, their process is very, very cumbersome. And each stage, you're talking to a different person. And we find that with those, they are more difficult. But the ones where one person takes you from beginning to end tend to be a little easier. But all of the servicers operate differently.
Now, Rick, we've done these programs in the past, just in general, of foreclosures. What has the response been like from individuals following these programs?
It has been very good, and one of the things that the reason the program matters is because we get more informed homeowners, and they're not calling. Typically, the homeowners call upset. The homeowners who have actually seen a show like this tend to be more calm. They understand that they are beginning a process that can lead to a solution, or if it's not the solution, they intend a solution. And so they're calmer about making that call. They have a sense of what's going to happen when they make that call. And they also don't have that sense of despair. They believe that I'm finally doing something about this. And as we move forward in adding our ingredient to keeping that calm and working with them with their lender. So that's how the show is very important. It's a form of education with the delivery of the services.
And I would add to that, the other advantage is that even if you're not the one in foreclosure, you may know someone in your church, you may know someone in your family, you may know a neighbor. And the more information that's out there, the more likely it is that people will get to us early. And early is really the key to being able to be successful in a briefer period of time.
Sister Barbara, you've been doing these studies, these foreclosure studies in Hamilton County since, I believe, 2002, right?
That's correct.
What surprised you about this 2008 report?
I think the primary surprise is the number in the more middle to upper income communities that we're beginning to see. There is no neighborhood any longer who hasn't fallen victim to this. So we're clearly seeing that. And as Rick said, we're seeing a different kind of loan, because what we had seen predominantly in the past were subprime loans to more low-income folks. What we had seen in the past really was a demographic that was more African American. What we're now seeing is a demographic that is as many white as, we're almost seeing a 50-50 now, which is very different. But the banks have stayed pretty much the same. So the banks and the servicers have consistently stayed the same throughout since 2002, which is sort of amazing to me.
Yeah.
I think there was also another interesting thing about the report this year. There's also a trend that was surprising to me, the first one, and it continues to be a surprise. And that is, with intervention, the ultimate foreclosure result is a sheriff sale when you lose the home. But there continues to be a drop in the number of sheriff sales based on the number of foreclosure filings.
That's good.
So it demonstrates that with the diligence, the persistence, the patience, and then acting on that there is assistance out there. There's a lot more options by the mortgagers, the lenders, the servicers. There are a host of things contributing to the fact that you don't have to get to that ultimate sheriff sale, even though there has been a foreclosure filing.
What Rick is saying is absolutely true. We've been able to keep them level for the last 2 years, which in Ohio, we're the only county that does. So that's, I think, speaks highly of the work that we do. The other piece that came out of the report this year that's just a little different and is that at sheriff's sale, less than 3% actually were sold to anyone besides lenders, which means that it's a very bad sign for the market in general.
Yeah, it sure is. How do you know when it's time to reach out to get help?
I would say two things. One is, if you're thinking it's time to reach out, it probably is. If you are concerned that you just don't know quite what you want to do or where you're going or whether you're going to be able to pay it, it's time. You don't want to wait, in other words. Don't wait till you get to the point where you're now so far behind that you're really frustrated and don't see an end to the tunnel. Try to do it while you're still seeing light in your tunnel.
Because there is light. There is light in the tunnel. We don't want to be all negative. I mean, you've saved a lot of homes. Rose is living in her castle, so to speak, because of reaching out.
We save about 82% of the homes of the families that we see. So we feel pretty good about that, and I think Rick's numbers are similar. So, we definitely, it's definitely a positive moving forward. And I always say, if you want to save your home, come early, do all the things that you need to do, work with us. As Rick says, we need to be a team. We need to be strong advocates for you, and you need to be a strong advocate for yourself.
Can anyone contact your agencies for assistance?
Absolutely.
What is the cost?
The cost is free. It's a great price. And
Absolutely.
And I will say, the reaching out early, the reaching out when you think that you should do it, it's important to reach out to the right entity. There are a lot of scams out there, and the more this crisis continues, there's a higher and higher increase in scams. And we have many, many customers bringing us letters to say, should I do this while I'm working with you? And it's something that looks very official, looks like it's from the federal government, and it's a scam. It's important before you give anyone any money, before you begin any processes, to make sure you're working with a reputable entity when you've decided it's time to reach out.
The other thing I'd say is, if you've got a stack of letters you haven't opened and you didn't do it as early as you would like, please come anyway. Don't worry about the fact that you're behind. Let's try to work on it and see where it goes, because we've been able to help people who've been behind also. So, I think a lot of people are fearful because they say, well, I should have done something ahead. Well, we like people to do it as early as possible, but we're also perfectly willing to work with you if you are a couple months behind.
I guess that advice there, that old saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. When you start getting those letters in the mail telling you that, we'll buy your home full price, or we'll help you with this.
Right.
How do you know? How do you know what's legitimate and what's not?
You can't through the reading of what you receive. We often have to do some research on what the homeowners will bring to us before we can tell whether it's really a scam. It's extraordinary, some of them that say Internal Revenue Service, that really have nothing to do with the IRS. The safest thing to do is to stick with a HUD-certified counseling agency. We have to continue to operate the way that we operate. It's sort of a good housekeeping seal of approval by the government, and that is the best place to begin. After that, there are a host of other avenues that you can go, but I think beginning there is probably the best thing.
Is it hard for people to talk about it?
Absolutely.
Even when they know they're in trouble, because you've got to feel like you're alone. Does that go through your?
It wasn't hard for me to talk about it. It came easy, because I find this, when you get a letter, if you don't open it and don't read it, you don't know what's in it. and you fear, that's when you're already defeated. So you don't fear to open the letter. You have to open it and read it and see what's in it.
But you know a lot of people
They
fear
don't.
it, and they put it away.
They put it away,
Don't
but
see it.
don't do that. Don't put it away. You open up and read it anyway, no matter what it says, and then you do something about it if you can. Why you can? Because if you wait too late, it might not be like me. Might not have your home. You lose it. But see, when I went and called them and taken everything that I needed, they asked me to bring. Make sure don't leave nothing out because you got to go back and get it. That's prolong the time. Shorten the time when you take everything when they ask you to bring from the beginning. And once you bring it to them, then they get started on it. And you work with them, they work with you. But I'm very proud to have Mr. Williams and have Patty working with me. It's a blessing.
What I think you're absolutely right. There is a lot of shame, and particularly in the more middle-income communities. There is also this. I never ever pictured myself in this situation, and so therefore I'm kind of like, I could do this myself. And what I would say is that if all things were equal, that's probably true, but all things are not equal, and we do have access to people within the banking community besides the collection arm, which is the arm that most homeowners are talking to.
Yes.
We have the capacity to get into a person in most cases that actually does loan modification. They're very different. So we would encourage people to work with us. Now, we're not going to say, you can't come into our office and hand us a stack of papers and say you do it.
Yes.
You're going to continue to work hard on it. We're going to help you and educate you about what are the steps you can take. So I think people have to understand that even though I never envisioned myself this way, there are hundreds and hundreds of other people who never envisioned themselves in the same place. And the country never envisioned itself in the same place, so they're in good company.
So we're going to work together on this, and we're going to get out of it. Rose,
Yes.
Sister Barbara, Rick, thank you so much for being with us
Thank
today.
you.
Great information. Really appreciate it. To find out more about foreclosure prevention and other community resources, visit our special website at cincymortgagecrisis.org. You may also call the United Way at 211 and ask for help with your mortgage concerns. If you would like to watch this and other Focus episodes again on demand, you can do so at our website, cetconnect.org/focus. Thank you for watching. I'm Kathy Lehr. See you next time.
Any use or rebroadcast of this copyrighted program or portions thereof is prohibited without the express written approval of CET.